So here we are with another episode of the Trade Legends podcast, and we have another fantastic guest on tonight, which is Nick from
JJ Roofing.
JJ Roofing. And the reason that I decided to get Nick on, apart from obviously the brand sort of becoming more well known on social media, was I'd seen a lot of the work that these guys have done in promoting the tool theft stuff that Schweb has been getting behind with Trade United. And I thought, whilst all this stuff's still going on, to get a good brand on that many people are talking about, but also to carry that conversation on, it'd be great to get you on and talk about the good work that you've been doing behind the scenes as a business as well. So before we get into it, I just want to say, if you can go and like, subscribe, give us a follow, leave us a comment, anything like that, because it really helps the channel and helps to support myself and Mark and grow the channel so we can have great guests on and just keep doing what we're doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there we go. So what we try and do about now is you can give us a bit of background to yourself, because I think it'd be good to sort of hear about how you ended up working here, and give us a bit of like history of jobs that you've done and stuff like that. But then also give us a bit of history about the company and the types of things that you guys do, and then how it's evolved and how it basically came to be what it is now. So I'll pass the floor over to you and give us your best, Nick.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on. I've been doing a lot of self-talk on the way down here today.
Yeah.
Prepping.
More than I've ever done before, trying to get ready for this, as you can imagine.
It feels weird, doesn't it, talking in the car, trying to sort of get a flow of a conversation going.
Yeah, the thing is here is we never try, it's not like, general knowledge, and we're not going to try and catch you out with anything. We're always interested, and the people that watch the show always want to know about the people that they speak with on Instagram, or the brands that they see, or the people behind the brands that they talk to that they may not get to know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Many people might talk to you at shows or at some of these tool theft van rallies and stuff like that, and they don't really get to know you.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point of getting you on and talking about the business and the brand and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, yeah. I work for JJ Roofing. I'm their marketing lead. Have done now almost for 13 years, which has flown by. I can't believe it's gone that long.
Yeah.
You asked about where I started out. I certainly didn't think about getting into roofing and roofing supplies in the first instance. Coming out of uni, having done a sports science degree, done my crew shirt within months of doing that, which was great.
So how did you do that? What was that in? Rugby, football?
Innocuous football injury.
Was it?
Ball going over the head, turned and fell over.
Good, easy.
Back on, off again, did it again within minutes, and that was me done. So I then went down the sort of, what can I do? Well, I need to get into work, having done a good degree, and fell into working for a local NHS mental health place, supporting people with mental health, and that then went on, and I worked for local Mind charity after that, doing some of their marketing and promotional things in a local Mind, and the opportunity came along to work for JJ's, and I just thought it was fantastic what they were offering at the time, and the opportunities they were going to give me to get into something that I was interested in, which was, I felt, marketing.
Because it's like I've done a bit of similar thing where I've gone and worked in different industries and then ended up in this type of sort of industry. Like, like I've gone and worked in a bit of finance, I've done stuff in fashion, I've done loads of different bits, but I tend to find it's more, there's a lot of community and stuff within industry that you don't sort of realise, and then you get on the social media and it's actually fun.
Yeah.
Like doing social media for some of the other industries I worked in was like...
And it's massively different, isn't it?
Yeah.
From social media or marketing for Mind, but then going into a roofing company, couldn't get further apart.
Very much so. I mean, it was still in the early days in the sense of whether a local mental health charity would allow you to do that because of what you're putting out. Is it going to be correct? Is it going to be received right by the people that were following those accounts? So, I find it a little bit difficult at the time to get them involved and doing that. But as I say, they were a great place to work for. Loads of learnings from them, but moving on to JJ's and how forward-thinking they are as a company, what they allow me to do in terms of spreading my wings and having ideas. And you mentioned about jumping on socials, that's only just one angle. I mean, when I first started, the main thing to do was a bit sort of Argos and Toys R Us like, in the sense that they wanted a physical catalogue printed. And
Right.
I was brought in as the sole marketeer, along with another couple of guys that were in the store, to produce a very antiquated
Thick
book, which was like, right, you've got to learn how to use InDesign and get this out to this is how our customers shop, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is our catalogue to the world. And that was great.
It's changed a lot, because I mean here, Unilight, we print such a limited amount of brochures now, because you can just go online and view it, or you can send a digital copy of it.
Where would them brochures go? Who would have them small number brochures?
I still remember that we used to do like a mail shot and send a new brochure every year to all of our customers. Every single one, worldwide, wherever they were, would get a brand new brochure. This was obviously like, you'd still have your website, but we were still sending a physical copy of the brochure. You imagine how time consuming that is to package it up, how much it costs on the postage, and then to get it printed. Whereas now there's my PDF, or download it off the website.
Absolutely. The website now is our catalogue to the world. So, yeah, it's a bit more modern. And
Thank God.
So JJ Roofing is, give us an idea of the scale of it. It's nationwide, is it?
It is via our 2 websites that we have. We have jjroofingsupplies.co.uk, which has pretty much our whole catalogue available for people to shop nationwide. And then we have Sterling Build more recently that we've brought in, which is a skylight and roof window specialist website. So that's how we service the wider UK. And then we've got our bricks and mortar stores, which is what we started out with in Henry Road in Barnet. 1989, and we now have 9 of those. So
Are they all in the same similar area, or?
yeah, pretty much. We're in London, Kent, and Hertfordshire. So that's where we operate out of, generally like a 20 to 30 mile radius around each of those stores.
Got you.
Those, and they're all relatively close together, so that they can all support each other and ensure that we're
Move stuff around, and
absolutely, and customers.
I don't think people realise, because I mean, you see like the scale of businesses like Travis and Jewson's, and I know obviously these guys go and make acquisitions and gobble people up, but just even 9 branches in a specific area, I don't think people realise just how much work that is.
Absolutely.
And how much goes into it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like having to order stock for 9 branches, making sure that like everything's ticking over, the staff, deliveries. It's a big
animal. Yeah.
It's a big
We when I started, I think we had somewhere in the region of about 40 staff. We had 4 branches, and in that time period, as I said, it's about 13 years. We've grown to 9 branches, and I think we're just over 100 staff now.
So doubled in size.
Yeah.
Is that the branch? Is the actual physical branches something that's going to be rolled out up the country, or are you keeping the physical ones where you are?
It's always been the plan to continue to grow as much as we can, but generally we try and base them local to each other so that they can support in those initial stages of getting them off the ground and as you mentioned, our stock.
And if you know the area as well, if the owners know the area, they know where the best locations are, or where the majority of your customers are. If you go in blind and just go, well, we're going to move to Aberdeen, you don't know anything about the local area. Do you know what I mean? So it's a big risk to take, to go, unless you do the Travis route or the Jewson route, you go and gobble somebody up and they've already got that footprint there.
Right, got you.
It's very difficult to go, well, I'm going to go and put that location there, unless you've got a sourcing team like Screwfix who have a whole property division that suss out particular sites and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it just, when you said they're all in the same sort of area, and I just, for some reason, envisaged it being 5 or 6 or 7 physical buildings scattered through the spine of the country.
But if you think about it, you imagine, say, the M25, because you've got some where they're all dotted just around the edge of the M25.
Yeah.
That's a big population to serve. That
Yeah,
is.
true.
I say it's close. It would take the best part of the day to drive between each other without stopping.
Mate, don't get me started on the London time to travel 5 miles takes like an hour. Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely, how people do it. Hats off to
It
them.
used to take me 2 hours to do 1.5 miles from Peckham to Greenwich.
See,
2 hours.
you can get from here to halfway across Wales in 2 hours out of the smoke. But okay, so you've got your branches down there, and it's family owned, family run business, isn't it? Or family. It started. Do you want to give us a little brief history on the business.
This is the thing I did the self-talk on the way out.
I should be
Get this right.
pinpoint
Get
then.
this right. Yeah.
PowerPoint presentation coming.
The bosses will be like, don't get it wrong.
Yeah, they're sat there now listening, ready to tick.
We talked
tick.
to you about this, Nick, we hear the story all the time. It is a family-run business. It was the name itself, the JJ of it, came from two Johns, both brothers, and one of those is still our owner today. We've got three owners, John, Patricia, and Graham. And Graham is the son, and he is our director. Chairman, as he calls himself, very much like a football club.
Right.
So it started in 1989 in New Barnet, which we're still there today.
Original site.
Original site is
Nice.
a sort of, I don't want to call it a corner shop, but it's on the corner of a road. It's very front-facing, small unit, and started serving out of there. It was a building company initially, pivoted based on customers coming in and asking for certain products, and Graham's very entrepreneurial and just listened to them and said, okay, right, I'm going to change this up. I'm going to build some rigs. I'm going to put these what were called U-Bink windows at the time, still available today, but U-Bink windows, U-Bink vents, and I'm going to service the customers with what they're asking for. And that's always been the ethos of certainly Graham and what he's tried to put into the wider staff team that we've got now is listening to their customers and pivoting on that, not only enable us to thrive but survive and grow. So started in New Barnet, had opportunities locally because as it grew we needed more space. Took on a new site in a place called was it Netherlands Road, it's the place called, and again, Graham just took opportunities that came our way. We expanded. Sometimes sites didn't. We outgrew them. And Graham, as I mentioned, is quite entrepreneurial. So he capitalised on development of certain sites to enable us to then pick up other sites and grow from there.
It sounds like he's quite on the ball thing. If he looks and goes, that's not quite working, before it falls on its arse, he's out, move that, need a bigger yard.
Very much so.
Proactive like that.
I think in part that's one of the reasons why I've been with the JJs as long as I have. Is Graham. Is the foresight, the enthusiasm that he has, and it's not always been rosy. There's been times where we potentially almost went skint back in the day, but through, as I mentioned, sometimes we've had to move sites because of they're needed for development, or we've developed sites which has enabled us to then grow. Or recently, it's enabled us to open up 2 or 3 branches because of what we used to call a distribution hub that we sold for development. And Graham very much reinvests the capital that we get back into the business, and that's how we've been able to.
Yeah, but if he's seen that opportunity, we've got this yard, we own that, and they're coming and they want to stick X amount of hours on it, that's going to help push the business another 2 sites somewhere else.
It's difficult to make that decision, because if that site's making money for you, you've got to then go, right, okay, I can get this for it, but then I've got to find somewhere else in the meantime and then not disrupt any of the business. That's why I can see why you keep them closer together. So if ever
they can
there
feed
is,
each other.
Yeah. So it's a clever way of doing it.
Yeah. So then you come, as it's gone through, then you come on board as marketing. So what did you sort of implement when you came in? Was you brought in to go, right, we want this, or did they go, right, Nick, give us some ideas and tell us how we can grow it?
Yeah, they certainly had some ideas of why they required some marketing presence and clout to both bolster the brand and also to do things, as I mentioned, the catalogue. We were sort of in our infancy with running a website as well, so could you redesign
what would that have been, 2010, 2012 then, wouldn't it?
2012, yeah, just after the Olympics.
So I suppose it was that time when websites and they were just about becoming a thing, weren't they?
Websites, if you didn't really have one, back in about 2008, 2009, it was like people were starting to go, what's going on with your website? And then e-commerce started to really ramp in. It wasn't like, you could go and buy something off Amazon and places like that, but there wasn't a lot of places that were doing, like Shopify and WooCommerce sites. And then that sort of kicked off around about that time. And then bigger brands, bigger sort of wholesalers were like, we need to get a website done where we're selling product off there.
So you've come in at that pivotal time then, I suppose, at 2012-ish.
Yeah, we started to build a team around me as well, developers for the website and some key other marketers as well to support with that.
So was that done in-house, the development?
Yes.
Because that's what I did. I brought that in-house. Because you try and give it out to a marketing agency, and this is no disrespect to people like Dissident Dan or anybody like that. There's not many that understand fully your business and what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's a family business, you want it a certain way, and you don't want the customer to think, "Oh, these guys have changed."
Did you have a marketing team coming here then initially?
So initially, Nathan was working for a company called Rascal Creative,
Right.
And I sort of whittled it down to him and another marketing agency that eventually went bust.
Right.
Over in Redditch. So I'm glad I went with Nathan, but then that company went bust that Nathan was working for because Nathan left basically. Nathan did the majority of the work.
Ah, got you.
But then Nathan went self-employed for 6 months and eventually I convinced him to move down here. But I brought him in-house. I'd already got Jack working here and then we brought G in.
Yeah.
So all the videography, all the editing, all the website.
You could oversee all that then, I suppose.
All the implementation into the CRM and stuff like that, everything was done in-house. And that's what revolutionised our business. And that's no disrespect to marketing agencies, because you get some that are really good at what they do, but they specialise their niche. A bit like Dissident, they specialise just in construction primarily.
Yeah.
But the majority of them will have health and beauty customers. Then they'll have kids' toy customer, and then they'll have Bayliss and Harding hand soap. And you think, these guys have got they don't understand.
Yeah. And they're trying to bring it across to you potentially as well.
So you did it all in house then, Nick? You got the team in to do it similar to what Al did?
Yeah, there were a few guys that were already in house as well, but they weren't dedicated to marketing. We pulled them in from the website side. A guy called Ed, fantastic guy. Doesn't work for us anymore, but yeah, fantastic guy when he was on board. But yeah, we built a team and ramped the website up, modernised it. Cause, I seem to remember it was on a platform called CubeCart. Moved it over to Magento, where we reside today.
Right.
So scaled it up.
Because that's another difficult thing when you start doing e-coms, is you've got Shopify, you've got WooCommerce, you've got Magento. So you've got all these different types of platforms where you can host your e-commerce website and use to obviously create sales and generate sales. But which one do you use? We went WooCommerce sort of route with Nathan, because you can sort of tweak and edit it a bit more, whereas the Shopify, you get these standard sort of plugins that you put onto the website, and it's a lot more difficult to sort of get a developer to go
Got you. Yeah.
and mess around with stuff. But these are all things where obviously you're trying to run a business, then you're trying to grow the business, and you're trying to do all these other things that people don't see. They just click a order and it turns up at their door. They don't realise how much goes into it.
You've got to have a bit of a handle as well. From the director's perspective, Graham sort of did want to know, but didn't want to know.
I was going to say, did they so you've got your team round you, and what was your sort of vision for that marketing side of it then? Because obviously that's going to lead on on the timeline 8-9 years later into the social media as we have it now. So what was your sort of USP in, I can do this for you?
I think, don't want to do myself down too much. I think more so from the design side of things I came on board, because as I mentioned about the catalogue and designing it and the aesthetic of that website in the early days, it was a static website, so it didn't manipulate itself for a mobile. It was all just literally, right, this is the block you get, and this is how you do it. So you had to
non-optimised websites where you'd have to zoom in to
really?
see. Have you forgotten about them?
Yeah, well, I didn't really use it. I used to go.
Didn't use it.
Don't want them AIs. Don't want anyone knowing about me.
You remind me of my parents. You'd be taking a picture of me like this.
No, but as tradespeople in like the 2012, 2013 sort of time, we would just go into a merchant's and they would do that stuff. I would go in and go, right, I want a boiler or a bathroom or whatever. They would do the sourcing, and then you'd go in and just pay for it and take it.
Yeah, similarly with the catalogue, I suppose. We used to get some certain customers would come in and go, thank you very much, that's what I'm going to go and quote for. I'm going to go show the guys this is what I pay, and this is what you'll get, and you can almost do the quote from the catalogue. So.
Yeah, but so you've done that then, and then obviously that's worked fine for you, and you've really pushed the business on. Then it's grown to your 9 sites while you've been doing that.
Yeah.
Did you notice, was there more growth when the e-commerce sort of side kicks in alongside the social media? Did you find that there was any more growth at that point? Because I found here, you do B2B, and that's great, and then we turbocharge the business when we sort of plug the direct-to-consumer into the back end with the B2B, because it was sort of, if people were seeing it online with the influencers and they were like showing it off, they would then get other people to walk into a branch to then go and purchase it off a shelf or purchase it via the website, and it just went like that, took off like a rocket. So I don't know whether, like you've got 9 sites. Did you find that you had, I don't know, you had 4, and then all of a sudden you start doing the e-commerce, then there's 6, and then the social media, and then there's 9, and then it's...
I think it did have a big support for the branches because, as I said, it's the catalogue to the world for us. It demonstrates what we've got as a breadth of range, and that was also a thing in itself, trying to get the sheer volume of products that we've got in store onto that website to show.
How many have you got as well? Because this is another thing that people don't realise is, I think we had probably 250 SKUs in total with spares and stuff like that.
We had this before. SKUs, that's lines of products, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'd say we've probably, I'll get berated by a commerce manager, but I think we've probably got over 60,000 lines, probably.
So you imagine that. Imagine doing the catalogue for it.
Oh, the catalogue's crazy, yeah. So, like any book, it was as good as it was when it was printed, and then as soon as it's done,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you don't want to keep doing revisions during. This is why, and I can't stress it enough to people. Like, the internet is just so good because you can instantly update it. That catalogue, you tend to do one for the year, or you do biannual catalogues if you've got a lot of products. But the cost of it,
and you're tied into them prices, then, aren't you? No matter what.
Yeah.
We actually price less at one point.
Yeah, a lot of catalogues as well stopped putting the prices in. They just show the products off, because if it's like now where products are inflation's ripping through, and then all of a sudden you don't want to be beholden to that, do you?
No.
And then you got there would have been a time when you've started to embrace your social media stuff, and obviously you got Danny Madden's a big guy for you, isn't he? He's like your go-to influencer.
Yeah, he is.
Have you noticed, with having him on as such a strong presence as Danny is, can you see what he's bringing to the table?
Absolutely. With Danny, it's, as we've said previously, it's very organic for us because he's shot with us for so long. It wasn't just him. Madden Builders have been shopping with us for 20 plus years. So his dad initially. But yeah, you're absolutely right. As soon as Danny does,
it's a no-brainer to having them, wasn't it?
No, exactly. He's always very forthcoming as well. It's like, would you like me to come and help you out? It's reciprocal. So
that's what you want. Bundy was like that. Bundy used the product before, and he went, "Is this one of yours?" Out the back of his mouth. I was like, "Yes, mate." But it just makes it easier if somebody.
It's an organic sort of collaboration, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, ever since Danny started, I remember sort of giving him props early days, sort of probably 2019 roughly, when he came down to our training academy.
Is that how long he's been as an influencer with you?
I would have said that's where he really kicked in.
Okay.
I mean, he's dabbled. I know previously he's talked about, like, I gave it a go and I got a bit of backlash. So I dropped it for a little bit. And then, I think it probably was in and around that time he started to do it, and consistently, as you well know, has done it daily from then. And it's just incredible how he's managed to do that every day and add to what he's doing.
He's done really well for himself, because he's on Fix as well, isn't he now?
Yeah.
Posting the roofing.
I like it when shout out to Danny. I like it when Danny does his outtakes. Have you seen the outtake? Fucking brilliant. He's like doing his shots, and because he's like proper Cockney. He's like, I sound like fucking Danny Dyer. What's all this? What's all this? What am I doing? Brilliant, absolute. But that is what people see, and they relate to someone when they do when you see that back end of content creators making stuff and seeing what goes into it, and then when you get someone like that to push your brand, it's perfect. Al knows with the Unite, the team that we got pushing the Unite stuff, you get someone that can support the brand and push the brand, and they just, everything about it, it's a golden ticket, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's difficult to know getting the balance right with it, I've found, because there are so many people that you could potentially approach and bring on board.
Was he the first one then, in that sort of sense? Like,
in our sphere, in the roofing?
The one that you sort of looked at and thought, well, actually, whenever we do stuff together, it does well. Because I feel like there's always a time in your head, especially if you're in marketing, where you go, that worked really well.
Something clicks.
And I didn't really feel like I did too much, but something worked, but I don't quite know what it was. Yeah. And then you realise actually it's not me making the content, it's somebody else, and they prefer somebody else doing it. I'll just.
Yeah. It only takes us to stick a collaboration on with Danny, and all of a sudden the numbers are going, and you're like.
But you can see that coming in through the monetisation of it, the product's being sold off the back of a collab with Dan when it goes out.
It doesn't even have to be a collab with Dan. Dan is, as I mentioned, we've built a rapport with Dan over so many years that he'll plug us just naturally. So, for instance, hit runners, he plugs us almost monthly on those, and we get a hit both in store and online on where'd you get these from, where do I get them from. It's a bit of a pain when it comes to Instagram, because it's like, I'm gonna have to DM you that link so you can get it and go to that and buy it from us direct. But you see a natural correlation between that.
But then you've got Danny pushing that side of it, the content creator side of it, and then we touched on off camera when I came in. You got Big Steve.
Big Steve, yeah.
He's become the face of your Instagram page, hasn't he?
Yes.
And I tried to word it right out there, and I didn't know how to do it, but. Having Steve on there with his deals, Steve steals deals. So and I ain't got the fake teeth out. Steve steals deals, but having someone older. Don't take this the wrong way, Steve. Having someone older on your Instagram page,
probably younger than you, man.
Probably is. It is a bit different, but it works because it's so different. I think you used to seeing everyone that's creating content out there, but then when Steve comes on, it's like that trusty guy when you walk into a builder's merchant.
Did you ever see the guy, South African guy from Big Wipes?
Yeah,
the old guy at the shows.
Yeah.
If you've seen him, you never forget him.
Yeah,
like what a salesman that guy is.
But it's
what's your business? What's your business? That's all he used to say, and he'd go, oh yeah, like this, and like that, and everybody sort of copies that. You never forget that.
And I think that's what Steve's got, is that there's something that. You go, I trust this guy because, he's slightly older than a lot of the content creators, but he's the friendly face of, and he's nailed it. He's so good on camera. And then I said out there before we started filming, I went, are you, Nick, going to start coming in? And you was like, well, I want to. Or,
he's the brains of the operation.
Yeah, he's the ringmaster. But you said you quite fancy going on camera sort of thing.
Is this your popping your cherry?
This is it. This is me now already. You ready? Yeah. The world isn't. I would like to just to bolster, as I mentioned, the sheer amount of content that we can get out. I feel like doing crude content in and around what we do on a day-to-day basis is something where I could come and help. And it is difficult for Steve because it's not the only thing he does. I cannot give that guy enough props. He's a great guy. He's full of energy. He's got untold knowledge of our industry from the suppliers
That's key,
side.
isn't it? You can tell when someone knows what they're on about. It's confidence.
Yeah, and people, as you mentioned, buy into that.
Yeah.
It has taken time. We have had to foster that and get him in front of camera over a number of years. I think it's 7 years he's been back at JJ's. I mentioned we started in 1989. He was actually part of that original. He's one of Graham's friends, and he's been off to other merchants. God, I nearly mentioned their name then.
We can beep it out.
So, and since coming back, his enthusiasm to get on social media, he was a big advocate of Twitter early.
Oh, was he?
Until it changed to X and went a bit skewy, and he got some strange Chinese messages coming through, and he's like, I'm done with that.
He was proper keen to get on there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He is driven. He's really driven, and getting him on there is not an issue.
Getting him off is the issue.
Well, there is that. He says that he's a performing monkey. You tell me what to say, Nick, and I'm off. I'll do it. What would you want to do? There's been some stories where our boss at one point wanted him to dress up as Boris Johnson back in the day and ride in on a chart, and I'm just like, there's not a chance.
What was it on that rope thing?
So he definitely could do that. He'd front that.
But would he be up for it as well, I take it?
Yeah. Essentially, I suppose because Graham is a very good friend of his, and he believes in Graham, and he would, do almost anything to deliver for his friend, and also the business as a whole, because he's so vested in it.
But it's just given your social media from your account, from JJ Roofing's account, a face, people engage with it. And then obviously the tool rally as well. Steve was running around with the microphone. And
I mean, how did that come about then? Because you've done, obviously, just to give people a bit of context, you've done some marking days, haven't you?
Yes.
So you've done some marking days, which the Selected DNA, I'm sure everybody's started to hear about now, and the stuff that Schweb's doing. Just tell us how sort of that comes about. Is that off the back of the stuff that you've been doing on social media? Is that just the connections that you've got with some of the influencers that you're now working with? How did that come about?
I was trying to remember actually exactly how it did come about, because I'd been following the movement, as it were, the Stop Tool Theft movement for a time. I'd seen the petition that Schweb had initially put in, which unfortunately had to be shelved because of the change in parliamentary what am I saying? Government.
Rishi called the election.
Yes. Yeah. So
Kiboshed it.
he scuppered that. And we were fully behind that, and it's something that I sort of picked up on social. So yes, in part, I think it probably was from the influencers that we follow, be that Danny Madden, because he was fully in it, and then Schweb off the back of that. And I was speaking to Steve and was saying, do you think I think we should be involved with this? I thought, I really do. And it's difficult as a merchant, and I think possibly from a brand's perspective as well, knowing whether they should be involved with it. Certainly in the early days, and I think that's why I took a back seat for the first rally into Parliament Square in 2023.
We did a little bit, because you don't want to seem that you're trying to piggyback off the back of something, because it's an issue that everybody cares about. You don't want to seem as if you're trying to profit off something that theoretically it is the issue, because you don't want your customer having problems, but at the same time you don't want to jump in and think everyone's like, well, why are these trying to take the line?
Well, I remember going down on that first one. I drove down. Obviously, I was heading the West team in, and Mike, Residual Current, was doing bits with you at the time, content creator. He jumped in the van with me. When we got into Parliament Square, Mike jumped out and just filmed the day, and then got all the content. And I remember when he got back in the van when we were going home, he was in the van, laptop up, editing that content that he got in that day to get some footage out that night, because it was just hitting that. It was everywhere, wasn't it? And he just wanted to get it out. But that was, Trade Legends and going down to support it more than anything. And same with you.
It's funny you should say that, because I'm glad you mentioned Mike, because I couldn't remember his name. I know him as Residual Current, and followed him ever since that point. That video that he put out was like a small movie. It's fantastic. It's brilliant, isn't it? And that's what I took my lead from for the... I said it was in 2023, but it's actually 2024, June or July, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I took my lead for our videos from that.
Right.
Because I just watched it, that interlaced with the BBC News and all the powerful Oppenheimer music.
Yeah,
and,
I just remember I was driving back at the M4 in his ear, on his laptop.
And he turned that around in a day?
We were driving back, I think we left at 2-3 o'clock. He was an hour before, because I dropped him at Bicester, up the M40 an hour on the laptop, and he went, I'm going to get this out by 6-7 o'clock. So he turned all of that round within 3 or 4 hours. He said, I've got to get it out now to hit. And it did. It blew up, didn't it?
It really did, yeah. I was in awe of that. Probably doing myself a bit of disservice, but I certainly didn't get our videos out within that time frame. I was working pretty hard. It took me a few
This
weeks.
latest rally, though, you had the big...
We, as I mentioned, we were tiptoeing around it, whether we should be involved, and we invited Danny down for a meeting at our HQ, as it were. And we also got Schweb, the gas expert, so the tool movement lead, as you're probably all aware, on the phone, and just discuss with him the best way in which we could support. That didn't need to necessarily be our presence at the tool rally. But we certainly offered it, and we said, how can we best support this? Because, you've probably mentioned it previously when you had Paul from Underwood on the other week about getting his stuff done. We're fed up as much as you are of it. We are seeing customers come into us who have been done over multiple times, and
you don't want people getting done in your car park either. If somebody leaves a van just round the corner because they can't park near the place where you're selling out of, you don't want them getting... because then they won't come and shop at yours
Yeah.
either.
No.
It affects absolutely everybody.
It's a knock-on. So some people may think about the tool theft and think, we would benefit from it. And yes, we might get a tool sale off of it, or picking up their hand tools again and products that they've lost. But the likelihood is they're not going to be able to afford it and come back to us. And we don't want people in that situation having to do that. And, we help people out where we can, but I don't feel like we should have to, and I don't think we do as a business. And we touched upon that with Derek Barrett when we were at the Tool Rally. We had an interview with him, and he was saying, I'm helping people out as much as I can again, but how much more can we do this? And the obvious things that are being talked about at the moment, the more stringent laws and catching people, I think.
I mean, this weekend just gone, there was the massive big raid on which
Willow Farm.
Was it Willow Farm? Yeah. I mean, the footage from that is.
But they didn't even get into the main part of
no.
it.
But I think they know we're coming, or we're. Well, it's
Yeah,
us, as the industry. They know we're coming now. We've had enough, and
absolutely.
And if that's just the start, it's finally with the latest rally and the rally before and all the online presence is beginning to make that sort of movement, and it's been a hard slog, but
I saw the Select DNA dog go in, and I was just there, just thinking, they're not going to find any DNA. I just knew it, and
they did, didn't they?
Did they find the copy?
There was one because in the footage, they went, I think whoever put it up went, watch the dog's tail, and it's wagging, and they found like what, but the Select DNA is still relatively new.
Early days. Yeah.
So even to have one cipher its way through and be found is a positive, isn't it?
Absolutely, and in part that's why we did try to do the whole holistic approach of going to the rally and supporting that and giving any financial backing that it might need and doing the content off the back of it and continuing, but to do the tool marking day so that we could get Select DNA, the forensic tool marking down. Was key for us, so that we didn't just show our hand and say, "Oh yeah, look, here we are. We're part of this rally. Let's take a bit of exposure." And
I think now it's at a point where people don't look at it like that. All they would see is JJ Roofing. They've got their massive truck there. So and so's got this there. It's gone past that point of are you only here for exposure? I think across the board now it is you're here to support it, no matter what. Who you are, what you do, this, that, and the other. Everyone's loving it.
Even just sharing a post on social media.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people from up north that couldn't get there, but they all day. We were all down there in the vans and everything. They were on Instagram sharing it. Everyone's doing the bit, aren't they?
Yeah. So with the business, then you've been there 13 years. What's the future plan? I mean, I don't know whether you discuss it with Graham and John or whatever. What's the future plans for the business? Where do they want to take it? Where ideally would they see themselves in another 13 years' time?
I think in an ideal world, because we're an independent, we're a family-run business, we'd like to be the largest independent roofing merchant in the country. I think that's got to be the goal. That's where, not that we're going after any other independents, but that's the goal, is to be as prominent and prevalent across the country as we can be that through bricks and mortar stores like we have predominantly at the moment. That makes up most of our business, but also pivoting, as I mentioned, to different online businesses and specialising potentially. You never know where it might take you. As I said, we started out as a building firm, and now we went to a roofing accessories firm, and then onto now a suppliers. So that I fully believe that's where we're going to be going.
It's just making them little tweaks, isn't it? That's just allowing you to carry on with your core, but we'll get into that, and wheeling and dealing your way through.
Yeah,
as a family sort of, it is quite nice having family-run businesses still. I'll say this, and I was just sold it. I just thought then when I was saying that,
not like you,
not like you sellout. But no, it is nice, and the fact that it's growing, that big, and you've got a massive online presence and. Yeah, you should be massively proud of.
A lot of the time with the businesses, like you say, is your customer guides you, and you don't actually realise that you've gone from there to there because you're so caught up in the day to day. It's not until you sort of sit back and go, hold on a minute. When I first started at the business, we only had 4 members of staff, or we only had 4 stores, or we only had, do you know what I mean? And then you suddenly go, well, we've doubled in size, the turnover's doubled, we've got double the staff. It just sort of happens, but your customers guide you by saying, oh, do you sell this?
Do you think that's because as a company like that grows, you're more looking at the profits and the data figures than standing back and going, we've got X amount. How many people are in the whole company? How many do you employ?
The last count when I did it in Christmas, we have a all hands meeting, bring everyone to one location, and Steve does a video and does a big reveal as we all say Merry Christmas, and it was, I think it was 107.
Wow.
So yeah, be that people on the ground in the store, people within our fleet of 40 to 50 vehicles that we have now. And,
So even running that side, running vehicles, that's a massive operation logistically, isn't it?
Oh, you've just given Carl a pack on the back, and our logistics
Pardon,
like,
Carl.
if the wheels ain't turning,
What people don't realise within a business, which I always used to say to everybody out here, it doesn't matter what job somebody does, even if somebody just cleans the toilets. If you take that one bit out of the business, like, it impacts everybody, and you don't realise everybody's just as important as anybody. Like, what I do is just as important as, like, Jack doing the videos and getting the content out. There's no difference in anybody's job role, and that's the difference with a family business. Is everybody has to realise that, look, you've got that to do. You need to get it done so that this can happen. Whereas obviously a bigger company, you can sort of hide sometimes when you're not pulling your weight. But family business, you get found out pretty quick.
Is there more family members coming into it?
Yes,
there is.
Yeah. So Graham has a couple of sons, James and Mikey, who are sort of more in the e-commerce arm of the business, operating that.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my
Nice.
But Mikey, I say that coming in from e-commerce, he's gone from working as a yard person onto our counters and pivoted then into the e-commerce management. So he's come through, and I think James even may have done a little bit back in the day. He's gone away and created a successful barbering business down in Bournemouth. And
right.
You were talking about whether we jump somewhere. That might be somewhere we might jump outside of the realms of London or where we are at the moment. But so
that's good that they've come through the ranks, because they have a complete different look as opposed to going straight in there. They can see it from every stage, or the stage that they've done, and it just gives a different perspective on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's also got Jamie, his cousin, as well, who works as our stock controller. So there's people in the business to support him. So he's got people that are looking out for it as well as him, and how it's going, as well as me as a champion. So.
Are you wasting time? I think that some of you probably are, and I have a solution for you. Nobody wants to do any type of admin. Now, I have a solution for you, and it is called Tradify. It's a fully automated job scheduling, invoicing, and quoting all in one place. Now, that software is going to save you 12 hours a week, and all by using a simple software solution. Now, you can try it for 2 weeks, absolutely free, no cards needed, and you'll even get support in person from Tradify themselves. Now, when you're done, you can always come back to me and thank me, but just enjoy the extra 12 hours that you're going to gain from just using the software.
One of the things touched upon is the community investment. So a bit like the Tool Theft Rally, we've always been big on community investment. We have sponsored a local music festival for the last 14 years, I think it is. Again, that's very close to our new Barnet store where we started out, and it's a charity music festival that goes back into a cancer care trust. Cherry Lodge Cancer Care is very local to that store, and gets about 5,000 soul revelers down there every year, and something that we've fronted and been the main sponsor of for many years. And it's fantastic. And we also look to, as much as we can, give back to the communities in which we operate. So the tool theft is a wider issue. It's a national issue, but we're also seeing it, as I mentioned, physically in store. We've got people coming in who are looking a bit grey in the face and have experienced it more times than they perhaps would want to. And so we're sponsoring local football team, Hadley FC, at the moment, which is fantastic. I go down there with Steve on Saturdays and weekends and take pictures of that.
See, that's something I've always done. I think it's, my lad's always played football from 4 or 5 years old, and I've always sponsored teams and clubs that he's played for. But now I've got a board around the outside of our local, Warwick's football club. Had it for 10 years. And I just think, I don't know why, I think it's just a good, simple way of advertising. I've never advertised my company apart from my van being sign written, but I've always done the local football club. And I think I always say, I want the board, right, not behind the goal, just next to it.
Diva.
Yeah, I do. I want that position. But because it's always in the shots, when we win. But I just think getting behind your local community is a massive thing because it builds trust, doesn't it? It builds that relationship. People subliminally see it. They see that sign at the football. They see the van with the same branding. But then all of a sudden...
If they've been there in the same spot as well for that many years, you become woven into the fabric of the area. Yeah. So when you're doing these other things, it's showing that you still care. You still remember that these are the people that you serve and come into your store, and these have been my customers over the many years.
Yeah.
Just keeps the name fresh in people's minds as well, doesn't it?
And having a logo that's instantly recognisable.
Yeah,
locally and everything.
I had to be careful because Graham said, I want you to go down there, I want you to look at how we can show that we've sponsored this team, but do not turn it into JJ United. I know what you're like.
TJs, you could call them the TJs.
Yeah, he's gone in like Ryan Reynolds for Wrexham, gone in and took a whole Netflix crew down there with him.
Well, it's a little bit like that, yeah. And there was actually a guy...
Did you have a link to the football club then?
Did you? Previously, yeah.
Right,
so Graham...
this is where he tore his ACL.
Yeah, of course.
I wish.
It's the start. We've gone full circle.
They're a very good, they're a very good standard. Get down there and take pictures, say, every week. And to be up close to them, so you get really close to it. It's really great. They're really good down there. And so...
Good. Like it. So, support local communities.
Yeah. Should we do the final thought?
Yeah, let's go final thoughts. Jerry Springer.
So round about this time, we always say to people, you can either shamelessly plug yourself, which obviously your boss probably won't thank you for, or you could drop some knowledge. I mean, even that, like supporting local is a good little message for people, isn't it? Is, care for the people that have cared for your business over the years. But you can just drop some knowledge, even if it's for somebody else getting into marketing, to say, look, don't dismiss something, even if you don't know about like working in the trades or something like that. Like could be absolutely anything. So you've got a couple of minutes to wax lyrical, drop some knowledge on us. Hopefully you don't
this is where people go.
Hopefully you don't do an Adam Dunlop and give us like a sermon from God. But
That's still iconic. That.
Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people get fresh out of uni, want to get into marketing. They might go, tradesmen and women. I want to do marketing for those types of. And I was a bit like that when I first came into this business, and then realised actually it's so interesting, so much to it. So it could be anything like that, but he'll have a big swig of his water and then think
he hasn't practiced this on the way up, has he, in the car?
No, I think you're quite right. You've had the gent from Dissident who specialises in Dan recently on the podcast, and he was saying, I think there's a vast opportunity within the construction industry and possibly more specifically the roofing industry for people to get into it and to help to show it, because it is quite crude, it's quite of the moment. And from my perspective, I came into JJ Roofing not having a huge marketing background, but you do need someone to back you, need someone to give you that opportunity, which I got from JJ's and from Graham. But I don't think it's a...
So here's one for you. If somebody's listening or watching, and it could be somebody who's a tradesperson, but it could be somebody that knows somebody that wants to get into marketing. If you had somebody apply to come and work with you alongside you, what would you be suggesting to them is the best route to approach, say, getting into your business? Or what would you look for in somebody that wants to get into marketing? Because it's completely changed, I feel, over the past few years. What's required for someone?
I suppose it depends what sort of marketing you're going to get into, but I think you've got to have an eye for design. You've got to have a desire to do social media. You've got to. This is a terrible answer, isn't it?
Oh, well, design. I think you have to have an eye for design, because you have to think, how can I make that look? What am I making somebody feel when they look at something? I get that you have to even when you're putting a social media post up, you're sat there going, okay, do I need a filter on that, or can I add something on here? Can I add a graphic there?
It's got to look aesthetically right, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you from my perspective, like, I'm a bit of a perfectionist in what goes out, and I think that gets me berated by Steve quite a lot because he wants to get more content out than perhaps we do, and we film more content than we get out as well. But I think having the ability to create content and stick it out quickly is quite important. And of the moment you mentioned residual electric getting things out, it needs to be out today. It's got to be out. This is at the moment.
Topical.
This is important. And sometimes that creating that perfect piece of art isn't always necessary.
The ones where actually you don't really
I was just going to say that.
I think you said it on the last
You can
podcast.
put hours and hours and hours into something and polish it, and you think it is the bollocks, and it doesn't do well. You do something, you go...
And you
"Oh,
talk about how much you charge at Christmas.
Yeah, there you go. You just chuck something out willy, you go, oh, that's not going to do it. Chuck it out, and it flies. Sometimes them raw bits of, Steve messing up the line like that. Like us again, touching back to Danny's outtake video is the hits on it is brilliant because everyone's not seeing the salesman, they're seeing the back of it, and it's just funny. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So get Steve, get some outtakes, and get some bloopers.
I've got plenty of them. Anyway, we actually put out some this week, and you're quite right.
Yeah.
The interactions that you get from that is sometimes far outweighs.
Because you're then a person. You're not just selling this
not
or
just
pushing
AI.
this. Yeah, you're not just AI. That's a whole different podcast. You're not just selling that. You are, he does fuck up now and again.
And I didn't touch on it earlier, but going to trade shows now with Steve is a bit of a mission, because it's not because you want to get content or there's things to capture. You can't get the guy round.
Because he's like a mini celebrity.
Yes.
Yeah.
The more people want pictures with him and to have a chat with him, and
No one ever
I know
wants a
who
pic.
you
They
are.
just look at his teeth. That's all.
They are as white as they are on YouTube. But yeah, it is. It's taking someone like that with a big online presence, Steve, and I suppose you stand back as a company and go, "Hell, he's a bit of a thing, this guy." Hence why Nick's like, "I'll have a little go in front of the camera." Yeah. But no, I think we're all good.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on, mate.